Hello, welcome to PODnas. This is a sports show with a little Southern and Cajun flair. I'm Daniel Hawks. That's Jared Roser. Today we are going to do our preview for week 5. Is it week 5?
It's week 6 of college, week 5 of NFL and high school. So glad we're all here on the same page.
I was trying to continue the bit from earlier in the week. It's week 6. We're going to preview week 6 of college football here at PODnas. I had no clue. I had none at all. It was a real mess up, but I almost said an F up, but I didn't. There we go. Jared, how you doing today?
Well, man, got a nice dry kitchen where no spills have happened. I'm just, navigating my own digital F ups and whatnot with my poor computer equipment, but I haven't spilled an entire gallon of milk in my
it was a half gallon, and mine is actually clean too because I just spent the part of the last 30 minutes cleaning it.
Oh, nice. Well, that's a nice change of pace in and of itself, really. I'm glad that this was a spark for you,
Let's get into week 6 with myself and 8-Bit Jared on the side. Hopefully the actual video is better, but we're going to go through 7 games in our PODnas Pick 7. We're going to tell you who's going to win those games, and then also see how bad I'm going to lose this week, because I feel like that is usually what happens. So let's get into this first game that we're going to go into up here in Chicago, where I'm located. ULM, the Warhawks. They're going to Northwestern, the Wildcats. It's a 2:30 game on the Big Ten Network up here in Chicago. I'm going to be honest with you. Go Warhawks. I'm picking them. I don't think Northwestern's that good, and neither does the rest of the Big Ten. And one thing that Northwestern has done a lot is commit turnovers. And ULM has a very good defense. One thing that we've said about them all season long is that defense is legit. I'm picking ULM to grab the upset. Maybe I'll be in attendance. Who knows?
I like this in terms of a Big Ten opponent for ULM. I think it's one that they can go up there and win potentially. I was leaning against them going up there and winning, and now I'm just more sure than ever now that both you've picked the Warhawks to win and said you may even attend and hope that they win. I am now more confident than ever that the Wildcats will indeed take care of home field and win this game. It's okay, 2 teams.
Listen, this isn't you at the Cajun Stadium, okay?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Me watching the comeback of a lifetime?
I have no previous record of going to a said stadium or any ULM game and them losing, okay?
No, but you do have records of picking games and you losing no matter what happens to the teams. I really need to emphasize that as concerned
you just hate Louisiana. It's fine.
As concerned as I was in the middle of the third quarter at Cajun Field on Saturday, that by the time I left that stadium, UL employees were saying, man, you need to come back more often. This was awesome. Like, you brought some fun, juju out here to the field tonight, and great comeback and all this stuff. Obviously, I mean, I can't take all the credit. Lunch Winfield had a phenomenal game. Some other guys really stepped up, but I think I'm in the mix for people that deserve some credit for that, or at least I got some. No, I mean, look, both of these teams, getting back to Northwestern and ULM, want to run the football, want to lean on their defense, don't want to have to throw the ball around a whole hell of a lot. You mentioned the turnover issues for Northwestern that play right into where ULM has excelled. ULM, we talked about some a couple of days ago, has an improved passing attack, in my opinion, from last year. Some of the stats of Aiden Armenta and company. And so they have a little bit of a balance, more so than what we saw at times last year. But I still, even though it is Northwestern, and so we don't want to overstate some of the Big Ten dynamic, it's a big, tough, physical team that is probably going to have a little bit more depth to lean on as the game wears on. They're at home, et cetera, et cetera. I think it would be a great win for ULM to go up there and get, but I'm picking Northwestern.
Yeah, that's all right. You can be wrong sometimes too. Next up, number 16, Vandy at number 10, Alabama, 2:30 on ABC. Last year, Diego Pavia and the Commodores went into this game huge underdog, and it ended up with the fans from Vanderbilt taking their goalpost down to the river and chunking it in there. Can we expect another upset of Alabama this time when the Tide kind of see the Commodores coming? What do you think about this game?
I mean, say an upset, and it technically would be. And Alabama, as we said a couple of days ago, is playing much better than it did to start the season. But man, Vanderbilt is looking like a pretty good football team, and so it wouldn't be one of those crazy how the hell did Vandy upend this other SEC team situation. They're obviously a top 20 team in their own right, are playing really good football. I don't think that they beat Alabama again. Alabama at this point is playing about as well as anybody in the SEC the last couple of weeks. And so I told you before we got started, I was trying to look up the last time that Vandy had beaten Alabama in consecutive games, which would go back to 1955 and 1956. This series isn't what it was for our lifetime.
In 1955 and Nifty 56.
Well, I was going to say this series isn't as it wouldn't be as crazy for Vandy to win this game as it has felt for most of our lifetimes, but it's also not the the pre-World War II era where Vandy owned the early series between these two. And so I think Alabama continues kind of doing its thing and building some momentum after we all tried to write them off after 1 week against Florida State.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just the way that Alabama's playing, they look like, one of the best teams in the SEC right now, just the last couple of weeks after coming off that Florida State loss. So it's going into Bryant-Denny as just a tough place to play. And I also think a lot of these Bama, again, revenge game. I think a lot of these Bama players that were there last year are going to remember that. And I think that is a little chip on their shoulder that they'll use going into this game. And also, just like you said, that Ty Simpson from off of that Florida State game has just, I think, been playing some of the, like his team, some of the best quarterbacking in the SEC right now by far. I honestly, I'm trying to think of another quarterback that I would put above him the way he's played the last 2 to 3 weeks, but I don't think I can.
I mean,
yeah, who are you going to go with? Not Arch, not Jordan, not he just outdueled whatever Georgia's that long ass name is. Not Nussmeier right now, which for other reasons we can get into if we want. But I really, honestly, Lenore Sellers has underperformed from what we thought. Ty Simpson is probably the best playing quarterback in the SEC right now.
He's done well. I am starting to feel kind of defensive about Nuss just because we know some of the dynamics that are at play there of him being banged up.
I'm not saying that he's a better quarterback.
Play calling and all those things.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's a better quarterback. Let's be clear. I think Nuss is the best quarterback in the SEC right now, given that Arch has a lot of growing to do, which we've seen. But who is playing the best right now? It's Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair, man. I'm trying to look up. So, how many weeks do you want to go? You want to go the last 2 weeks, last 3 weeks? I'm just looking at PFF scores for SEC quarterbacks.
Let's go 2.
The last 2 weeks, do you want to guess who the top rated quarterback per Pro Football Focus is in the SEC?
Diego Pavia?
No, but close. And again, we have to factor in some of the competition dynamics, but Arch is the highest rated quarterback.
I'm not counting that. Okay. He's played 2 cupcakes and he flexed on a bunch of kids that were getting their schools getting paid about $1 million and $1 to come play them. All right. Let's see how he does against this Florida game, which we can actually get to in a second.
And we certainly will. And Diego Pavia is next, and so that's an interesting juxtaposition because that's who Ty Simpson and the Tide have to deal with this week. And then Marcel Reed's up there as a passer, but overall offensive, what he's brought to the table, someone that
I forget about that. Marcel Reed's been playing very, very well for sure.
Someone that we've unfortunately had to deal with the last couple of weeks. Trinidad Chambliss against Tulane and LSU is the highest rated offensive overall quarterback between what he's brought with both his arm and his legs. So I had about enough of that. But let's move on.
All right. Next up, number 9 Texas at Florida, 2:30 ESPN. Texas is going into the swamp. I would love to see when the last time these two teams have played. Type that up. But here's the deal. Florida's defense is very good. As much as the struggles that they've had, that defense is legit. Arch has had 2 cupcakes. I hope that he was top of the PFF grades. Last time we saw Arch play a defense that could really get after him and make him make quick decisions, he didn't do that well. I'm interested to see if he's grown since then. I'm sure he has. I'm sure this entire Texas staff has taken it personally to want to get Arch back on the right foot, because they have a lot of lofty goals and ambitions for this season. That being said, I am very nervous to kind of see how he does, how he does versus this Florida defense in the swamp, which will be a very, very tough place to play for him. I do think that Texas comes out with the win. I just think overall talent is going to overwhelm the Florida Gators, this Florida Gators team, especially that talent that they have on defense. But I'm very interested to watch Arch this entire game.
So Texas won big in Austin in 2024. That was the first time that the teams had met since a game in Gainesville in 1940. I agree with everything you're saying. It just is a hugely pivotal game for Arch early on in his tenure as the Longhorn starting quarterback. It's a hugely pivotal game for this Texas team and what they want to accomplish this year, with a loss already on their record, and now having to go to a tough place to play against a defense that is going to get after Arch, and make him feel more like he's back in Columbus than any of these previous 3 games have been able to do. And so I remain confident that Arch and the Longhorns are going to figure it out sooner than later. And so I'm going to stick with that and pick Texas to win this game as well. But it's one that makes me really nervous, and it's one that's going to be really telling. And I think even people that are optimistic about Arch can't feel overly confident about this. Like it's very much just kind of a wait and see test to me going into this thing, but hopefully it's one that he and they pass.
Yeah, and we will see. We'll obviously keep you updated. Next up, Southeastern Louisiana at McNeese State, 6 p.m. ESPN Plus if you're trying to watch that. Go ahead, Jarrett.
I mean, look, I don't have a ton on this game. I've looked at box scores of the teams more than I've seen either of them play. I obviously saw Southeastern play in Tiger Stadium a few weeks ago, but that's, just kind of a different deal than obviously now getting into Southland play. It's a series that Southeastern has owned in recent years. They've won the past 5 and 10 of the past 13. They have to go on the road now, though, to a McNeese team that is, despite a struggle of an early season record thus far, is kind of laying the foundation with, Coach Viator back there and some guys on that staff that I really like. I think they're getting that program going back in the right direction. I do expect Southeastern to go out there and get a win. I really like Southeastern's defense. They've got some playmakers on both sides of the ball, really, but I like their defense a lot, and they've got some guys on that offense that I think have the ability to make some plays. And we saw it honestly in some spurts in that second half, even against LSU, where they put together a little bit of a drive. But Lions.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the same thing. Just kind of basing this off of what you said, because you're usually right.
I know.
I almost went with McNeese just because I need to catch up on points, but then I realized that this one probably isn't the one to pick for that. There's one later. All right. Next up, number 3, Miami at number 18, Florida State, 6:30 ABC. That is the night game. as the old ESPN commercials used to say, a rivalry that always has national championship implications. But after years of it not being that, it kind of does feel like this is a little bit of a old school Miami, Florida State game. Um,
I know,
Carson
man.
Beck, Carson Beck playing great. Tommy Castellanos and this Florida State team looking to bounce back after a loss last week up in Charlottesville versus Virginia. Um, and I love to kind of see this a team with their back up against the wall in Florida State and Miami, a team that's been somewhat rolling. What is going to happen? This feels like a great opportunity for this Florida State team to kind of come in and let people know that, hey, that Bama win wasn't just all we had in us this year. I think that they win. I'm going with the Seminoles.
I'll tell you what this felt like a great opportunity for was for me on a weekend where LSU, Tulane, La Tech, Cajuns, Grambling, Southern were all off. For a kid that grew up loving him some Florida State football, I was really, really excited to be able to watch this Florida State Miami game. Was hoping for two undefeated teams, and it was going to make my Saturday to watch a Florida State Miami game that mattered at that level again. And it still clearly does, but man, did Virginia screw up some of my excitement for this last week. But like I said on this week's Recruit That Boot, for folks that want to check out, Sam and I had Robert Valdez, the coach of St. Aug, on to talk about this week's game with St. Aug in the car. And Valdez is another big Louisiana, Florida State fan. And so while it lost a little bit of that luster last week, these games, even when both teams kind of sucked, were pretty fun football to watch anyway. And so I'm still looking forward to watching it. I am not overly confident in Florida State's ability to win this game just from a matchup standpoint. I hope they do. It'd be great. Just great fun for, again, a kid that grew up loving Warrick Dunn and Peter Warrick and all those teams. But I really like the way this Miami team's playing. Their defense is great. I think they're going to do a better job of bottling up Tommy C and company for the Seminoles and making life difficult. And I like the way that in the stretches that I've had a chance to watch Miami, the way that they control the line of scrimmage up front, set up that running game to take some pressure off of Carson Beck, and then he's got playmakers, obviously, to be able to get the ball downfield to Tony and company and really gash opposing defenses. And so there's a reason why Miami's a top 2, top 3 ranked team or whatever in both polls and looks as good to me early on as anyone. And as much as I hate to say it, I hope I'm wrong a lot this week, but this one included, I think Miami is going to win. And maybe I'm just trying to set myself up to, for a lighter letdown.
I get that. All right. This week we're actually with, like Jared said, all of those Louisiana teams on a bye. Do you think that they have like a little, like, they did this on purpose and they're going to have like a little get together? Like all the Louisiana teams off this week are just going to have like a little, I guess, like a camp, like a little stowaway camp, like middle of the season. They do that, right? In my head, they do. Okay, great.
No, for sure not. I do. I have wondered because it is eerily quiet in terms of a football schedule for October 4th this year, to a point where, so we mentioned 6 of the 11 Division I teams are all on byes on the same week. And then Saturday, we usually have New Orleans high school football games as well, because there's just a trillion New Orleans area high school football teams and only so many stadiums that a lot of them share. But there's nothing on the schedule that I've seen for high school on Saturday either this week, which is part of why I'm geared up to watch a lot of the national.
Hey, do you want to come up here for ULM Northwestern?
No, it would have worked out as well as it possibly could have. I could have caught high school in New Orleans Friday night and then flown out early Saturday morning and done the thing. But what I wondered is there something bigger, like outside of football, going on in the state that I was just unaware of? Like sometimes games get planned around like festivals and different stuff like that, and I have not found any reason why we're just almost entirely footballless as a state on October 4th this Saturday. because even
Well,
I
it's
mean
not
North.
the Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival because that's in April. That was the first thing that it checked. Anyway,
Yeah,
let's continue on.
moving
So
moving on.
we're gonna do two NFL. With all of that being said, we're gonna do two NFL games. I got to pick a game, which was very exciting for me. So we'll start off with that. Start off with that one, then we'll go to the Saints game. I picked Patriots and Bills, the Sunday night game, because Keon Coleman is from Louisiana and Will Campbell is a recent LSU attendee. He left early, right? He didn't graduate, did he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Anyway, yeah, that's why. That's the Louisiana angle that I took for this.
Do you know without Googling what high school either one of these talented young men attended?
No clue.
Okay. Well, I was gonna tell you for each.
I can't even
correct
tell you what high school I attended. All right.
I can tell you what high school you attended. Got a
Both
mind
of
like a
them?
steel trap. Yeah,
Both of
Bishop
them?
Sullivan and then U High.
Well, Bishop Sullivan isn't a real place, so
Not anymore. Was it not still Bishop when you were there though?
it was.
Still undefeated here. Oh goodness! I was gonna give you a point in the pick'ems or like a game in the pick'ems for each of their high schools that you got correct. But
Oh yeah, no,
I got none.
Yeah, I got none. All right. Anyway, this Patriots team has looked a lot better this year. The Bills obviously have been the class of the NFL so far this year. They look like the best team. Josh Allen is coming off that MVP season, still looking hungry, looking like he wants a Super Bowl. And with all the injuries to the Ravens and stuff, and the Chiefs a little bit underperforming, the Bills look like the favorites right now. Just overall, and the Eagles, their issues, they're 4-0, but it's a very ugly 4-0. But Mike Vrabel has got this Patriots team playing a lot better. I think this Sunday night that the Patriots are going to give the Bills their first loss, and Drake May is going to get his first primetime win. And I hate the Patriots, so I'm picking this begrudgingly, but that's what I'm going with.
It's going with the Vray bump. The last 2 years, the Pats have split with the Bills despite being a not good football. I mean, a 4-win team the last 2 years. One of those wins each season has been against the Bills. And so there's a lot to be said of just this rivalry in general, because the Bills have obviously been one of the top teams in the conference and in the league throughout these last several years. I am not going to go with you. I'm going to take the Bills and leave that door open for you to try and make up that game. I think this was the game you were talking about where you were hoping to kind of zag. And so I saw that coming from a mile away, but I'm sticking to those guns and Josh Allen and Keon Coleman and company. Former Neville High star Will Campbell can put this around the Pats locker room if he needs some bulletin board material.
It's Neville. Okay, I get a point. Let's go. You didn't say when the cap was for it. So.
No, that ship sailed quite a while ago.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. Anyway, yeah.
We'll see how this thing goes. I mean, obviously, we both feel like the Bills are one of the top contenders in the league, but this is a rivalry where the Pats have had success, obviously, in recent years. But I'm gonna go with the Bills to win this one.
All right. And lastly, Giants at the Saints, 12 p.m. on CBS. Giants got rid of Russell Wilson. Jackson Dart is in, gave the team a spark, but they immediately lose Malik Neighbors, which was just awful. And the Saints, speaking about that Bills team, looked very competitive last week. The defense looks serviceable. The offense is still trying to find its footing. I'm gonna go with the Saints here. I think the Saints defense, while Jackson Dart played well last week, there was a lot of stuff where he went and got checked out for a concussion. He went in the blue tent because his hamstring was injured. He was throwing himself around like a rag doll, and that is not a recipe for success. It's more of a recipe to get Jameis Winston on the field because he's going to be hurt. I don't necessarily think that'll happen this week. I just think this Saints defense is good enough to kind of confuse a rookie I think there was so much emotion and so much behind last week's start with him taking over for Russell Wilson, who's very clearly just washed. I think that the Saints can kind of surprise this so-so Giants team with an amazing defensive line. I mean, I just already one of the best defensive line. Abdul Carter looks like an absolute stud. I think that this Saints team can get a W this week. They're not going to go winless. You're going to have to get a W somewhere. And I think a Giants team, which also is one win away, one spirited win away from being 0-4 with you as well, is the perfect opportunity to kind of catch a win at home on a Sunday.
So you're going to call it. I mean, Russ Wilson is washed. It's 2020 already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, going into this season, this was where I picked the Saints to get their first win. And as frustrated as I've been with them at times, particularly 2 weeks ago, I'm going to stick to that script. I think a lot of it falls in line with a lot of what you were just saying, where the Giants have a really disruptive defense, and so you've got to find a way to slow some of that down, and not let that take over the game entirely. But this is a Giants team that I don't think is very good other than that, and they've got a young quarterback who's trying to figure it out, and you've got a Saints defense that is pretty solid overall in its own right and gets to come back home after a couple weeks away, and so they're going to create some problems for a Giants offense that I don't have a ton of confidence in either. And so I'm going to
except for Cam Scatterbo. I love Cam Scatterbo. He's the best, and he's great. And thank you for your service on my fantasy teams.
This is a game that I preseason took the Saints to win when I thought they were going to have to find ways to contain Malik Neighbors, and I didn't know that it would be Jackson Dart already and all those things. And so on the offensive side of the ball, without their best weapon and with a young quarterback in a second start and having to go on the road and all those things, there are factors that make me more confident in the Saints now than going into the season. And so I'll stick with that and essentially agree with you that they're going to get a win at some point, and this one is one that makes a lot of sense.
Yep, absolutely. All right, that is our PODnas Pick 7. We will go over this on Monday in our recap show. Hopefully I am 7-0, which usually happens. Jared's like 4-3, something like that. So
have you had a perfect week in this ever?
Yeah, I think it was the 1 week I followed all of your picks. Oh, yeah. But before we get out of here, we have to let you know who the high school top player of the week was. And that drum roll is going to be Evangel, Nick Lopez, and Jaden Hicks. Congratulations, you guys. Remember, if you would like to enter in your play after this weekend, you see a play, you're like, oh my God, that should be the top play of the week. Send it to us. DM us. Let us know about it. Tweet at LA versus all y'all. Send it in the DMs at either PODnas_LA or LA versus all y'all as well. Find something on the Louisiana versus all y'all website and embed it in there. So Jared now has to stay up and figure out how something got embedded on his website. Email us at Louisiana versus all y'all at louisianaversusally'all.com. That's not a real email. Don't do that. But if you see a top play, get it to us. That's the main point of this. We cannot have eyes everywhere. We want to see where the best plays are happening this weekend on that high school gridiron field. And yeah, congratulations to the Evangels kids, Nick and Jaden.
There is a Louisiana versus all y'all email, louisianaversusally'all@gmail.com. So if folks can, from that rant, kind of focus in on that part and not the part where you laid the challenge down to the hackers out there, that would be great. If we could just focus on the email and the ways to get in touch with us in other ways that will not ruin my nights or weeks or years or whatever. But yeah, man, congrats to Nick and Jaden and the Eagles. It's not often that you look at one play and can say, man, that really has a chance to be a difference maker in the entire season. But that one is one that kind of fits into that category where they were already down a score and about to potentially go down 2 scores, but instead get a chance to even that thing back up in a pivotal District 1-5A contest. And so now the Eagles are one of the teams that control their own destiny in that league as the season goes on, even though we're still just in week 5 right now.
Absolutely. And that's all we got for you today. So we really appreciate you taking a little bit out of your day to come hang with us. You can like, share, comment. Really helps us out on the YouTube side of things. And also remember, LouisianaVersusAllYall.com, brand new website. Find everything that you need for your Louisiana sports fix on LouisianaVersusAllYall.com. Find us on Instagram, PODnas_LA, and LA versus all y'all, and on Twitter, LA versus all y'all as well. That's all we got for you. Jared, you got anything else to say before we get out of here?
No, you got it. You might not find everything on the site, but you can find some good stuff, you know?
PODnas.
Temper.